Hello, everyone. This is Corsair Mac, president of the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association. And today we're going to go over something a little bit different. Right? We're going to be going over webinars because ultimately the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association is looking to increase its webinar library. So we are looking to pull in you guys as well as others to help with that. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be going over webinar requirements and things like that. So that way, you guys will hopefully feel more prepared to come to us with a webinar idea. So that way, we can implement it. All right. So, let's go ahead and take a look at that. But before we take a look at that, let's just say that at first, just like me, I did not have much knowledge or expertise on what to do, how to put on webinars, and things like that. But based off of the knowledge and research that I've done, as well as some things that I was told by my peers, as well as my predecessors, as well as my mentors, right, webinars aren't that bad, right? Thank the Lord. So let's really get into webinar requirements and things like that. So before we get more into it, of course, webinars come in the form of, or what we like to produce from webinars are continuing education units or continuing education points or whatever it is that you like to call them, right? CE, CEU, so on and so forth. So 1 credit CE equals 1 hour of training, right? So let's keep that in mind as we move forward. But thankfully, that really doesn't change the process at all. It actually makes it a little bit easier because it can help with formatting. We'll get into formatting after we get into the different requirements. All right, so let's get into it. Get into webinars here. We get into, what are the rules on webinars? So we got to go into the IDFPR rulings on, CEs. So what I did, I went to the Illinois Counselors Association webpage and I get this link. You can also get this link through Google as well or through any search engine that you utilize. And then you click on it and it'll take you to essentially this right here, the Joint Committee on Administrative Rulings. So then it goes over all the different things, all the different requirements for counselors, LPCs and LCPCs. But what we're specifically looking for are webinars. Right, so if we go down here, we can see in section 1375.220, continuing education. Right, so let me click off that. So if we click on this right here, we get into the continuing education piece, and it goes over continuing education hours, points, so on and so forth. But what we're interested in, sorry if this is giving you guys anyway, so what we're interested in is this right here, approval CE sponsors and programs. So basically, if you're looking to create a webinar for CEs, you need to go through an approved sponsor or an approved program. So it gives all the different sponsors right here. So as we see, one that you'll generally see if you're looking for webinars online is the NBCC sponsors. Basically, what that is, well, the National Board for Certified Counselors, you can go through them to create webinars for CEs for people to buy. You can also go through the American Counseling Association or any of its affiliates, which we are one of their affiliates, right? And then also the Commission for Rehabilitation Counselors, the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy, right? So on and so forth, right? You can go through any of those people to be sponsored to create webinars as long as they meet the criteria that's listed at the bottom, right? So, like for example, we are one of the sponsors, so you can go through the Illinois Mental Health Counselors Association to be sponsored, and you can do webinars through us, right? So now let's take a look at the requirements. So an entity seeking approval as a CE sponsor pursuant to subsection C1H shall submit an application on forms supplied by the division along with the fee set forth in section 1375.205. All right, and then of course you see here, state agencies, state colleges, and state universities in Illinois shall be exempt from paying this fee. The application shall include certification that all programs offered by the sponsor for CE credits shall comply with the criteria in subsection C3, which we'll get into in a second, and all other criteria in this section. The sponsor shall be responsible for verifying full-time continuous attendance at each program and provide a certificate of attendance as set for subsection C9. and that upon request by the division, the sponsor shall submit evidence, for example, certificate of attendance or course material as is necessary to establish compliance with the section. Evidence shall be required when the division has reason to believe that there is no full compliance with the statute and this part and that this information, is necessary to ensure compliance. A copy of a sample program with faculty, course material, and syllabi, which is B. And then 3, all programs shall A, contribute to the advancement, extension, and enhancement of the professional skill and scientific knowledge of the licensee in the practice of professional counseling or clinical professional counseling. B, foster the enhancement of general or specialized counseling or clinical counseling practices and values. C, be developed and presented by a person with education and or experience in the subject matter of the program. D, specify, the course objectives, course content, and teaching methods to be used. And E, specify the number of CE hours that may be applied to fulfill the Illinois CE requirements for license renewal. All right, so each CE program shall provide a mechanism for evaluation of the program and instructor by the participants. The evaluation may be completed on site immediately following the program presentation, or an evaluation questionnaire may be distributed to participants to be completed and returned by mail. The sponsor and the instructor together shall review the evaluation outcome and revise subsequent programs accordingly. An approved sponsor may subcontract with the individual and organization to provide approved programs. All advertising, promotional material, and certificates of attendance must identify the licensed sponsor and the sponsor's license number. The presenter of the program may also be identified, but should be identified as presenter. With licensed sponsor subcontracts with the presenter, the licensed sponsor retains all responsibility for monitoring attendance, providing certificates of attendance, and ensuring that the program meets all of the criteria established by the Act, and this part including the maintenance of records. Right, then all the programs given by approved sponsors shall be open to all licensed professional counselors and licensed clinical professional counselors and not be limited to members of a single organization or group. All right, then number 7, to maintain approval as a sponsor pursuant to subsection C2, each shall submit to the division by March 30th of each odd number year a renewal application, the fee set forth in sections 1375.205, and a list of courses and programs offered within the last 24 months. This list shall include a brief description, location, date, and time of each course given by the sponsor and by any subcontractor. All right, and the next one, certificate of attendance. It is it shall be the responsibility of the sponsor to provide each participant in the program with a certificate of attendance or participation. The sponsor's certificate of attendance shall contain A, the name, address, and license number of the sponsor, B, the name, address of the participant, C, a brief statement of the subject matter, D, the number of hours attended in each program, E, the data and place of the program, and F, the signature of the sponsor or person responsible for the CE program. All right, so D, the number of hours attended at each program. Oh, I already said all that. Sorry. All right, so 9, the sponsor shall maintain attendance recording for not less than 5 years. 10, the sponsor shall be responsible for assuring that no renewal applicant shall receive CE credit for time not actually spent attending the program. 11, upon the failure of a sponsor to comply with any of the requirements of this section, the division, after notice to the sponsor and hearing before and recommendation by the board, shall thereafter refuse to accept the CE credit attendance, at or participation in any of the sponsor's CE programs until such time as the division received assurance of the compliance with the section. And 12, notwithstanding any other provisions of the section, the division or board may evaluate any sponsor of any approved CE program at any time to ensure compliance with the requirement of the section. All right, and then gets into D, certification of compliance with CE requirements. So each renewal applicant shall certify on the renewal application full compliance with the CE requirements set forth in subsections A and B. 2. The division may require additional evidence demonstrating compliance with the CE requirements. This additional evidence shall be required in the context of the division's random audit. It is responsible for each renewal application to retain or otherwise produce evidence of compliance. And then 3, whereas when therefore, when there appears to be lack of compliance with CE requirements, an application shall be notification in writing and may request an interview with the board. At the time, the board may recommend that steps be taken to begin formal disciplinary proceedings as required by sections 10-65 in the Illinois Administrative Procedure Act. All right, and then the rest of this stuff, if you want to take a look at it, you can, but ultimately, that's pretty much it for the rules and things like that. Right, so, and then true, it gets into other jurisdictions and things like that, though ultimately, when it comes to it, but ultimately, when it comes to it, if you're looking for more information on fees and things like that, please definitely come talk to us at the Illinois Mental Health Counselor Association if you're looking to sponsor with us to do a webinar. Right now, let's get into some final thoughts. A longer video, but this video definitely needed to be made because ultimately, just like what I mentioned, we are looking to partner with you guys to do webinars for continuing education units. So I know, true, I'm just going to give a super brief overview of how I format my webinars and things like that. Though ultimately, depending on what you're interested in presenting and things like that, you can definitely go on our website to take a look at the webinars that are already created. So that way you're not doing something someone else already did. Or if you wanted to take a look at that and say, hey, I could do an upgraded version or upgraded form of that, we would be interested in hearing that as well. So if you guys have done like different presentations at different conferences and things like that, you can definitely utilize that as a webinar. Of course, tweak a few things because ultimately 1 hour equals 1 CE. So you guys can definitely do that. Or if you're looking to format it a little bit of a different way, one way that works for me is definitely history. It's definitely history. How can be utilized in counseling? What techniques there can be utilized? Any types of different things you can hand out so that way we can work on the application itself and then conclusion. And normally that takes up an hour. Though, depending on the type of subject you're trying to present within those different lists, and sure I can go more in depth with that as well, but I'll save that for another video. But with different lists, some parts can be focused on more, some parts can be focused on less. You can definitely add in subsections to those to definitely get more than an hour out of that. All right, sorry about that. Don't know why. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. If you are interested in a webinar with us, feel free to contact us at, again, 815-787-0515 or email us at myimhca@gmail.com. We are definitely interested to partner with you all, so definitely get in contact with us. All right, this is Corsair Mac signing out. Thank you very much, and have a great rest.